Hi everyone, it is Fitz with your PowerTalk Monday press conference edition. Hope you're doing well. I'm very good. It's been an interesting weekend, needless to say. Coming off a loss to Army, K-State falls to 1-2 on the season. They play their final non-conference game Friday night in Tucson against Arizona. So while a conference opponent, it's technically a non-conference game. What can Kansas State carry out of that Army loss that will help the Wildcats the rest of the season? Defensively, schematically, not a thing. Nothing applies from Saturday's game to Friday's game for the defense. Not a thing. And that might be true the rest of the year, that the principles they had to use against Army simply will not be used again. That's why the coaches hate those games, but they had that game. And while Kansas State's defense did a good job in some ways, it just simply could not get the stop. Army converted 6 out of 7 times on fourth down. Army averaged 3.4 yards per carry. And this wasn't an average that came born of like a 20-yard carry and a 1-yard carry and a 4-yard carry and a 7-yard carry and a loss for -3. It was pretty consistently 3 or 4 yards, which was enough to get first downs. And they kept picking up first downs. It was 3 straight possessions that the Kansas State defense had to go on the field. One was a good thing in that Bryce Nordenberg returned a kickoff 99 yards for a touchdown. But they had just given up 13 or 14 plays, and then they go back on the field and give up 13 or 14 more, which was followed by the squib kick that bounced off of a player and right back to Army. That's 2 special teams play, 1 positive, 1 negative, leading to basically lost possessions. That left the defense in a horrible position. A position, though, that they could have prevented if they had that guy that said enough and made the play on 3rd down, 4th down, whatever down. Enough. I'm done with this. They're missing that thing, that ingredient, that intangible, that dude in the locker room and on the field who's going to step up and make that play. Last year was Brendan Mott. How many times did Mott run someone down and get a tackle on a play that could have been a first down? Let's remember that Felix Enyedike Uzama tackle for the safety at Texas Tech, 4 years ago. If he doesn't make that play, K-State loses. And if K-State loses that game, where are they the rest of the season? Sometimes that one play can be all the difference between victory and defeat. And with victory, or possibly defeat, the entire trajectory of the season has changed. It's altered. They need to find a way to have that dude, that guy that can make that play, that can help his team by breaking up a pass, causing a fumble, or getting a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, that gets the offense off the field and gives the ball back to the Kansas State offense that ran 13 plays in the second half and only 46 for the game. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it, and I hope to never see it again. It took a unique set of circumstances, like the special teams plays I told you about, along with, the simple fact that Army didn't get any quick first downs, didn't hit many deep balls. They had 1 deep pass, and K-State just kept denying, and then giving up the first down. And just couldn't quite get it done. The defense has to be better. And the week before, they really kind of stunk. Gave up 35 points to North Dakota. Chris Kleiman and Joe Klanderman, the defensive coordinator, they went to this 4-man front because it's what they know and what they've used in the past, and they used the 3-man front for purposes within the Big 12. But now that things are coming back around to the running game and the ground and pound is going on a little bit. The irony is, of course, you can make the argument that making the defensive change was a bad idea, but also the reality is K-State was going to run a 4-man front against Army because that's how I think Chris Kleiman said it this way: that's how we know how to stop an option offense. Didn't stop him well enough, but he's right. It's a lot more simplified to slow down a option offense, the triple option offense, out of a four-man front. K-State's going to continue that four-man front. It's a permanent change. They got to get some players back. They, as mentioned in the press conference, they got dinged up pretty good. Those cut blocks added up, and now the depth at defensive tackle, nose tackle, is kind of hollowed out, and they've got some guys that have to play inside that really aren't as equipped to do so. They hope to get Ryan Davis back, which would be cool because he's an Arizona kid. And getting him on the field might be what K-State needs. Is he the missing ingredient? Is he the guy to make the definitive play, to get up off the mat and make some tackles? It's hard to say. We haven't seen him. But we know this, that the coaches say his motor is unbelievable. They could use that motor right now. We'll see if he can play. On top of that, Gunnar Maldonado goes home and play against the team that he played for most of his career. Will he be up to take on Arizona? You would think so. A big game from a couple guys like that could be all the difference in the world. And if the defense can get the offense off the field and give the ball back to Avery Johnson, let's see if Matt Wells can dial up something a little more aggressive than what he's done. And I know he's throwing the ball down the field, but it's also the most effective way K-State has scored this season. They need to use it more. Not going deep on that final possession will forever confuse me. They never really looked all the way downfield. And they didn't even use the approach that they used against North Dakota. We're going to run off the entire secondary. It creates space for Avery Johnson to run. Yeah, they only ran 46 plays the entire game, 13 in the second half. But those 3 carries by Avery Johnson were way too few. And they're going to have to find a way to use him in the run game with designed runs. And yeah, you can't ignore the between the tackles with Avery Johnson. You need to do it. You need to show it, or nobody's going to honor it, and they'll just be waiting for Avery on the edge. It doesn't help, of course, that they lose a day of prep by having to go to Arizona on Thursday for a Friday game. Now, they'll gain in that an extra day of rest because next week is an off week. So they'll have that bonus day of rest. But that day of rest is only helpful, really helpful, if you win this game. And I'm going to be blunt. Right now, as I sit here, I don't see any way in hell K-State wins that game. They just don't seem like they're equipped to do that. They have struggled all 3 games. And while I believe Iowa State is a pretty good team that K-State hung with, I never really felt like K-State was going to win that game. I felt like Iowa State was the better team, the more determined team. They had the quarterback that picked up first downs. K-State has been out-toughed, out-coached, and just simply outplayed in many ways all 3 games. And I think the worst of it was Saturday against Army. They made the plays, whether it was that pass downfield or 2 yards on a 4th and 2 that picks up a first down. Not all great plays are measured the same way. Army did it. Now K-State has to do it. It's time to save a season. Can they? Honestly, 2 weeks ago, I would have told you, yeah, and they will. Now, I don't even know if they're capable of it, because you can't force players to lead and be dynamic if that's not who they are. And that's who they need. Someone has to step up.